All right, welcome back to another episode of Longhorn University with one of our Longhorn borrowers, Sean Allen. Sean's been with us a few years now, right? A couple years.
3 years. Yep.
You and your wife Tamara, and also you come with the logo. We talked about this. You joined us. You joined Deb and me on an earlier episode of Flip the Script, and I think you were wearing your logo shirt. I love this. This is amazing. Allen Wrench LLC. I know it just because you've done deals through the LLC, right? And now we've even got shirts.
Yeah. That's my wife. That's all my wife's doing. She was the architect of this thing. So she was like, we need a face to put it with the business. So this was her doing.
How many different logoed shirts do you have?
I have actual.
Yeah.
I don't know. I have like 5 shirts in just different colors.
Right?
I have a T-shirt with this really big on the back, which is hilarious. And then we have some hats and some beanies.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
I love it.
Yep.
We got to outfit like the REI community with all this stuff.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I'm gonna get you one.
I would wear. I mean, honestly, I would wear that. Just for no other reason, how can you look at that and not be like happy?
Yeah.
I mean, you got your smiling face, like you're just that like screams like let's have a great day.
Absolutely.
Today's a great day to have a great day.
Absolutely.
All right, so we were talking yesterday about this and just kind of getting everything in line, and I thought the way you kind of laid out your REI career, for lack of a better word, was really interesting. You talked about how from deal 1 to deal 2 to deal 3, there was growth, there was adjustment, there was change, and you kind of build off of the experiences, right? So
yes.
Let's first, I want to talk about that. First, though, how did you get into this? I know we talked about it with Deba, but different audience. So how did you decide, like, I want to do real estate investing?
Gotcha. Well, I was a teacher, taught math for 20 years. And
what type of math?
All of it, seriously.
Like algebra, calculus?
All the way to calculus, yeah. I taught high school.
Okay.
So anything you teach in high school, I was there, 9th through 12th. So.
Which was your favorite?
Geometry.
Yeah,
the weird one, the one people like are hit or miss on. Geometry was my favorite.
I love geometry. I was really good at math up until calculus. I just think it was my senior year, and I think I was just kind of checked out.
Gotcha.
And once you fell behind on calculus, I felt like it was tough to catch up.
It's a mountain if you're not walking right along.
Yeah.
I get you.
But I did I liked algebra and geometry.
Okay.
The shapes and area.
Most people are opposed. Most people like one and not the other.
Well, I'm also weird because I like math and English. I'm not a math and science guy.
Okay.
I can't stand science, and I was never good at history.
Gotcha.
The history thing I think was more because I just didn't have the focus to learn dates and care about. Like if it was sports history, then I was fine. But like American history, like I don't know enough. I need to know more about American history.
Gotcha.
I just didn't pay attention. And then in Texas, they teach Texas history. Like
that's new. When I got here, I learned about Texas history.
Yeah.
That's a new one for me too.
Yeah, but I love math.
I know the Alamo.
Yeah,
kinda.
You know what? I know, like, remember the Alamo? Like, I don't know all the details behind it.
Yeah.
It's kind of embarraing.
No, don't worry.
Whatever.
I don't either. But that's all I really know.
All right, so math into real estate investing.
Yes. So this was like right before kind of COVID was happening. Me and my wife kept talking about like, hey, how long are you going to stay in education? And I just couldn't see myself doing the full 30, 35 years of being in the classroom. Just, physically getting older, just in the mental, just having the patience to continue just pouring in and not getting a lot back. I mean, I love teaching. It was definitely part of my calling. But I just could see that it wasn't going to be the long haul. So I needed something else that I could get into. I've always done DIY projects. Like I build like furniture and stuff like that in my garage just for fun. And so Deba is actually friends with our neighbor. And so we went on a trip. This was through COVID. And so, everybody was quarantining and doing all that, 2 weeks before you can be around each other. And so my little cul-de-sac, which included one of her good friends, we had all been quarantining together. So everybody was sent home. Everything was shut down. And so our kids started playing because, it had already been 2 weeks. And so we're like, all right, just let them go out in the cul-de-sac and play around, ride their bikes or something. And so we were like, hey, why don't we all just go on a trip together since we're all like our quarantining crew. And so we went up to Broken Bow and got a little cabin so we could go out in the woods and just camp out. And all the wives got together. And so Deba, my wife, some other wives as well, And Deborah started telling us about, her journey in real estate and how things were just growing, and she was like moving. And my wife was like, man, Sean's been looking for something, to really get into. And so they had a kind of a deep conversation over some alcohol, I guess. And
hey, it's the best door opener.
Yeah. And so when we got back home, she was like, hey, like we had this really deep conversation. Like you should really talk to Deborah about, getting into the mentorship and starting to do properties. And so it was really intriguing to me, and it just seemed like things kind of fell in line. And so when me and Deborah talked, she was like, this would probably be perfect for you. And so I was still teaching when we did that very first one, but after that first one, I had caught the flipping bug. And so that next year was when I retired myself, I guess you could say, from education, and I just kept doing properties from there.
Okay, so let's start with the first property you did and what the takeaways were and how you grew from that, and then we'll get into the next property.
Absolutely. So my first property was on a street called Crest Ridge in Mesquite, Texas. Nice little house, kind of cookie cutter, but it's a 3-2.
And tell me if I have some numbers here. So
yeah.
I think purchase 164, is that right? 164, 165.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
Put about 30 in.
Correct. Mm-hmm.
And then the ARV came back at 260, and so we funded 100% of purchase and repair.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep. Definitely the process, and I got to give a big shout out to Deborah. Like, just I think so. Just let me pause for a disclaimer or a quick commercial break, real quick. Like, none of this would have happened without Deborah and her mentorship. I met you because of the mentorship, because that was one of the questions. We had a rental a long time ago that we kept for about almost 4 years, but it was all the way out in Fort Worth, and we hated the distance driving back and forth for maintenance issues or just, going to sign the lease and, whatever we needed to do. It was always like an hour and a half drive to get out there. And so we were always asking ourselves, like, okay, well, how do people get bigger in this? You watch HGTV and you see like, oh, you can buy all these houses and do all this and do all that. We're like, what? How do you get the money? That was our biggest question. Like, how do you fund this? Like, I can't do this out of my personal bank account. Like, how do I get this done? So when we met Deborah, that was one of my biggest questions starting. I was like, I understand how to flip. Like, I had my own general knowledge of home owning and that kind of thing, but how do you fund it? How do you get the money to buy one, buy two, buy three, like, and be able to rehab that? Because we don't have that in our pocket. Remember, a teacher. I had nothing. And so she was like, no, these are like great questions, but like they're actually easier than you think. And so when I joined the mentorship, those were the things that we started to learn. We learned the rehab process. We learned the financial process. We learned, how to find contractors and all of that. So all that came through the mentorship. So like big shout out to Deborah Douglas and the real estate investment program, Roadmap to Real Estate Investment, because without that, I don't think our journey, we still would have been stuck in quicksand.
Yeah.
And so I definitely, like I said, want to give a shout out to that.
And let me just say, like, and we love Deborah, obviously, as well. Mm-hmm. But, maybe you're not in DFW and you're listening to this. Like, it's okay to find someone to help kind of get you going, right?
You should.
And there are people I know who they're super proud and, like, I can do it, and YouTube, and there's all that. Mm-hmm. And, hey, for some people that works. But it also is valuable to find someone, and certainly you and I would both endorse Deborah, but, find someone that, has been there and done that.
Yes.
And can maybe not give you the answers, but point you in the right direction,
yeah.
or share what worked for them. I mean,
yeah,
it's
absolutely.
It's so simple, right? Like, but I know there's some people who are like, no, I'm gonna do it myself.
Mm-hmm.
And hey, if that works for you, that's great. It's okay to, ask for help or have someone who's kind of like your compass, your guiding light.
And you should.
Yeah.
Like I don't recommend taking this path without somebody that's a little bit further down the road than you. They don't have to be multimillionaires or anything like that. So, I mean, you don't have to go looking for these humongous programs, but just somebody that you can bounce ideas off of and just to help you. Like, sometimes you just need encouragement sometimes just to keep at it. Because in a rehab process, it gets to a point where you're like, oh, my God, what did I just do to this house? Because you for real tear this thing apart and you have to put it all back together.
Oh, my God. We got to make this thing a real house again.
Yeah, there's some moments where you're just like, what did I just do?
So, Crest, I threw you off there, but Crest Ridge,
yes.
First one.
Yeah, so the very first one, Crest Ridge, like I said, it was a 3-2. Well, it was a 3-1. Actually, it was a 2-1, and we turned it into a 3-2. And so in that house just learned a lot just about being the boss. Like, I mean, you're paying all the money. So, I mean, you should have a say-so in how the house goes and the expectations you have of your contractors and the people that are coming in and out. Even little things like the trash in the yard, like just making sure you tell your contractors, like, hey, like, guys, like, you're throwing a lot of trash in the neighborhood. Like, can you kind of pick up a little bit after yourselves? But just having tightening the belt up and just walking in there and being like, hey, I'm the boss here. Like, this is how I want things to go. So in that very first deal, like, I really did have to learn that I was in control. I know maybe I wasn't the one, swinging the hammer or, painting the walls and doing all the different things or whatever, but like I am the one who is checking off on the quality of work and if I like what I see or I don't, or if this was the idea that I had when you came in here versus what you're doing now, and if I have to change something, then I have the power to be able to do that. And I had to learn that part. Just because you hired them doesn't mean like they get just full right to just do whatever. So in that very first deal was something I really learned right up front. Take control.
And sometimes those people, they are used to communicating in a way that makes you feel like you don't. I don't want to say that you don't have power, but you need to be authoritative sometimes,
yes.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And we talked about this. I think actually when you were on with Deb and me, we talked about how that is not a natural skill for people. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you either need someone, a part of your team, to be that person, or in your case, you mentioned you learn to be that person, mm-hmm. right?
Yes.
Because mm-hmm. you gotta be able to put your foot down. Sometimes these people they're skilled in deception
yes.
at times, or in trying to tell you, well, because they're the experts, right? At the end of the day.
Right.
And so when you're the expert in the subject matter, talking to someone who's not, you have a communicative advantage.
Right.
But you've got to be able to, to stand your ground and get what you want, or make sure it's going in the direction you want, right?
No, absolutely true.
Okay, so you go from Crestridge to Via Balboa. That was the second house.
That was the second house.
Okay, so I got purchase price $208,500, mm-hmm. $208,500. You put about $40 in. ARV at $331, and we funded that one at 100% again.
Absolutely.
All right. So So you went into that house knowing, all right, I'm the boss. What was the next step? What was the next thing you learned?
So the second one was just interesting because I learned a little bit more just about the contracting side of it. In the first one, like I said, and when you're a rookie and like the contractors, they have all the experience, they can kind of, they try to tell you kind of, hey, this is what you should do in this one. When you're like, no, I have an idea about this and I know where I want to go. So in the second one, I had that. I was like, okay, I know what I want to do in this one. I know exactly where I want to go. And then I had a contractor come in and say, hey, I can give you, here's my bid, my quote number for this job. And the quote number seemed fantastic. But he was like, hey, you're going to pay for the materials. And I was like, okay, I'll pay for materials. Seems like the numbers will work out. That was so wrong. It was one of those moments where like I should have been asking more questions to my mentor and asking things and just being like, hey, is this a wise idea for me to just pay them for the labor of the work and then I'm buying all the materials? Well, it wasn't until I was weeks and weeks later into the project where I was like, man, like materials cost a lot. Like this should have been worked into the deal. And so there was another point where I just learned, like, okay, like you have to be able to follow your numbers and make sure that this works how you want it to, even on the numbers side of this thing when you're going and looking at your books and how much money you actually have. Because $40,000 was enough money to get it done, but by the time we got to the end, we were seriously like just pinching all pennies, where I don't like to feel like that going, ending a project.
So, all right, if someone came to you and said, Sean, I got a contractor, he or she is telling me you'll pay for labor, you'll pay them for the labor, but you're responsible for the materials. How would you tell them to respond? Is it just a no, or is it a negotiation with them? Are contractors who present that, are they willing to have a conversation, or is it usually like hard line, this is my way, or go somewhere else?
No, well, one, if they're not willing to have a conversation, we don't need to talk anyway. But I now ask for both. If they say they just want to do labor, I say, well, give me a quote for what you would do it with the materials. and then give me a quote for just your labor, and I buy the material. So I can just kind of see what the differences are. And then now I know also I'm calling in more than one contractor and asking the exact same question so that I can do more comparison. I'll call 3 or 4 now before I even make a decision on anybody. So
even with experience using contractors, you're still still not
Oh yeah, I'm calling no matter
every
what.
time,
Every single time. Even if it's a guy I've used multiple times, I'm like, nope, still calling more people in just to see, what quotes are coming in. And because even just recently with all the price changes just in the United States period for labor costs and materials, those numbers have kind of fluctuated a little bit. So I just need to know, like, where are we now? So I don't always know, the price of plywood or, stuff like that. I don't always check those. So I do call the ones that have more experience to come in and let me know, like, what the numbers really are so I can compare.
And then last question on that for me, why would a contractor not want to pay for the materials? Is it, and they're going to get paid for those materials, right? They're buying the materials. That's all built into the quote. Is it just that they don't have the time to go and get them? And like, what is usually the reason why they want you to go and buy all the materials?
Well, it depends on the contractor. Some of them, sometimes it can be a little lazy and not wanting to kind of price out all the materials first so that they can add it to the bid. They're just like, hey, pay me $20,000 to do the painting and this and that, and then you just take care of all the rest, and I don't have to really worry. You're paying me the $20,000, and you handle whatever else. If you don't have enough, that's your problem. And then a lot of contractors sometimes, like, when extra little things that they didn't think about come up. Well, if it's all in their quote as one thing and they're doing labor and materials, well, when they forgot to do the little trim pieces on the side and they need 40 feet of it, now they're like, oh, this is coming out of my, side of the labor side. I'm not getting paid as much. Versus if it was me paying materials, they're just like, hey, we forgot to, add 40 more feet of trim. And they're sending you off to the store to go get it. And you're just paying for something that you didn't even know you needed. So, sometimes.
It's a great lesson.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
All right. So then you take it to deal number 3, Santa Fe. Mm-hmm. So I think we got 267 purchase.
Correct. Mm-hmm.
70 in rehab. So this is the biggest rehab you've done.
Yes. But
485 in ARV, and I think the estimated ARV, what you brought to me, was like somewhere like around 440. So this one overshot in a good way, right?
Yeah.
The appraisal came back
a long way.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And again, we funded all 100%.
Yes, you did.
337,000. So you had the experiences from Crest Ridge and via Balboa. Now tell me about number 3.
Santa Fe was an interesting. This one was wholesale to me, which was fantastic. I started to learn about the wholesaling side of this as well. This one had, over that really cold winter that we had, they had some pipes that broke in the house, which caused a mini little flood downstairs. So they had already cut up about 1.5 feet of the sheetrock all the way around the downstairs. The guy was just in a bad situation. He had gone through a divorce and some other things had happened to him. And so he was like, I can't take care of this house. It was just him in a huge house. And so he was ready to kind of just let it go. I think he kind of took the insurance money as well. Nothing got fixed in the house, but it was a good situation for me. And so we were able to go in and get the house, great price. And actually the original appraisal came in at $429. Was the original appraisal, and then it jumped up to the $485. So yeah, it was a huge swing as far as what the house was worth. The $70,000, it didn't even require the $70,000. One good thing about the first 2 projects was that we didn't do it on a large rehab budget. So then when the numbers came back, we actually didn't need the full 70. So there was a lot of just playroom where I could make better improvements.
Which, by the way, just for people listening, we're okay with that, right? We prefer that our borrowers are conservative on the rehab bid, and in this case, conservative being more money than less. I would say aggressive is trying to get the very best deal for each line item, because a lot of these bids do go over if you play it straight, right? So.
Yes.
And I get asked all the time, if I don't use all 70,000, what happens? You get the money, right? If we are in agreement on a loan and you present a scope of work that's $70,000, we're committing $70,000 to you. Whether you use 70,000 or 40,000, when you close out of the deal, whatever money has not been dispersed to you via the draw process, as you know, will get credited to you, right? So that's something that we get asked a lot. You know, what happens if we go over? You're not going to lose the money, and we actually prefer and recommend that you are more prepared for things to be over whatever is anticipated. Sometimes I'll get someone that just they clearly copy and paste the quote from their contractor, which is fine if that's what you want to do. I always recommend adding a little bit of cushion, especially on some of the bigger items.
Yes.
And that money can always be redistributed. We can get into that conversation another time. You can reach out if you have questions. We don't need to get into all of that. But I just wanted to point out, I mean, that is more often than not, we have people who go over their budget. We're totally cool if you end up coming in under, and we're not going to just keep that money from you.
Right. And actually, it was a wonderful thing. Just because of where that house is in McKinney, it's a kind of more luxurious area. Some up and comers in that area. That's where they're going to build that new airport and all of that. And so I knew that in that area, some of the finishes needed to be a little bit higher quality. And so I did like an iron door, like on that one. But if I was playing this so close, like and just pinching the pennies, like some of the other projects that I had, then I wouldn't have been able to, do those higher end finishes for that project. And so having that little bit of extra buffer in that one was able to, like the better countertops and better doors and just different things, better flooring, actually, all of that when we were able to do in this project. So it was nice. It was definitely nice.
And you feel like Santa Fe, I mean, when we talked yesterday, that the experiences of 1 and 2 of Crest Ridge and Via Balboa allowed Santa Fe to be, I mean, the best one yet, basically, right?
Yes.
You build off of it. Now, what is for the next one? What's the learning piece for that future next deal?
The next deal, and actually all deals going forward, is one, just going in having the full picture of what you want to do. Ready to go, so that when I'm bringing in contractors, they know exactly what my vision is for the house, and we're not doing any changes kind of midstream. I'm definitely better on the material side now because of the second house. I bring everything in. Like my contractors have no reason to stop. So all the fixtures and the sinks and the faucets and fans and lights and all that, like I have them on site, or they're on site within the first 2 weeks of the job even. So like by the time they finish demoing the house, almost everything's already coming into the house. So I'm like, hey, as you guys start to put this thing back together, you should just be moving. Like guys should be in there just hammering it out and every day getting something done, and I should be able to walk in and see a difference every time I walk in. So and that's just helped the time frame, which helps you on the back end for you don't have as many holding costs, all that kind of stuff. Like you're just a lot less time. You're able to get a house back on the market quickly. So
that makes sense.
Yeah.
All right, last thing. In what ways has Longhorn helped, and what's your experience been like with Longhorn?
Longhorn has been amazing. I like the process with Longhorn. When you go under contract, one, I'm able to send off properties that I'm interested in, just to know, hey, what would the loan terms look like? What are my holding costs for this? What are my fees? Everything is right there in front of you for you to read and understand like what you're signing on to. Then after that, you always have to do your rehab bid and rehab budget, which gives me a clear idea of, okay, am I listing all the things I'm going to do in this house? Because I have to submit that as well. The form is easy to do. It's not complicated, and you don't have to do a lot. When underwriting starts, that's always been my, I guess, the part that I don't know the most about underwriting.
Hey, honestly, same here.
But when they send the checklist, that checklist lets you know, like, okay, you need to submit this. Like there are 4 or 5 things you need to submit. The portal's easy. You upload them all. You don't have to like send them in or do all that. And once you have them submitted, they always come back and tell you what's completed and what's next and what's still outstanding, so that you can get it done as fast as possible. And then after that, give them a couple days, and you're normally hitting the closing table signing for some keys somewhere. So, I mean, the process is like really, really good. You've been amazing. Like you've always been my contact person. And so when I ask questions, even if they're like silly questions or even questions I've had from like friends that are now, hey, Sean, how's it going? I have a question about, hey, can they finance this or that? And I'm like, I don't know. Let me ask them. Hey, Jared, what's up?
And I love that.
Yeah. So, I mean, the communication's always been good. So, I mean, Longhorn's been, for what I've needed, like Longhorn's been able to do everything that I've run into. So I personally thank you guys as well for helping our journey out, because like I said, that was my biggest question going in was, how do you finance this? And you guys was like, hey, we can do that.
Well, we appreciate you, right? I mean, I think the coolest part about working with Deba and her mentees, and now you are one of the coaches, right? You know,
Right.
you've grown within that program. You're now you've got your own mentees, kind of, but it really does. It's like a team, a little like community, and it's been great to get to meet some of those folks. You know, I have borrowers I've done deals with I've never met in person, and that's fine too. But it's always rewarding when you get to meet the people with whom you communicate, and appreciate you and Tamara being a part of our team at Longhorn, and you guys have been so much fun. And again, I mean, the show, you can't look at the logo and not think like this guy's just nice and fun and positive. And
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure, I know you've got that other side that when you need to flip the switch, especially we talked about earlier with contractors, I know you can, but I don't recall you ever having to flip the switch with us. And
No, you guys are great.
I don't want to ever have that switch flipped on our end or our account. But Sean, thanks so much for coming and sharing a little bit about your story.
It's been my pleasure.
Thanks for like I said, being a part of our team, and here's to more deals and more stories in the future.
Many, many more. Sounds great. Absolutely. Thank you for having me. And I'm getting you a shirt. You're
I
gonna
will
get
wear
a
it.
shirt or a hat, whichever one you like.
I will wear it. Either one, I will wear. I promise.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Perfect.
Awesome.
I want you just to do me a favor.